They got the mics turned up nice and loud today, don't they? Good afternoon. Okay. Today begins early voting for the January 5th runoff. Of course, if you have a radio, smartphone, TV, satellite, walkie-talkie, I think everyone, not just in Georgia, throughout America knows that the campaigns have spent $1 million here, give or take, to let you know that. Every person's vote is important and vital in our system. Every vote matters. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. So please get out and vote. Georgia's elections are secure. There are many telling you they aren't. I understand. I get that. I supported and voted for the president. I am sorely disappointed in the outcome, like millions and millions of other Americans. It's nearly unfathomable. But we have over 200 years of transitions of power in our nation, regardless of personality, regardless of party. The past few weeks, partisans have asked that I choose party above law. That's not going to happen. My loyalty is to God, our Constitution, and our nation. It's been 6 weeks since the November election. It's been the most nationally scrutinized election since the hanging chads of Bush v. Gore in 2000. Last Friday, the Supreme Court of the United States of America rejected the state of Texas suit against Georgia and 3 other states. When I heard of this suit, I said that this was all hat, no cattle. I stand by that comment. In lawyers' language, the Supreme Court agreed with me to quote, Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections. This is a court with 6 Republicans, 3 who were appointed by President Trump himself. I am grateful for their wisdom and firm reliance on the constitutional. As a conservative constitutional Republican, I believe that the best place to land is when judgments are made based on the Constitution. My goal is to make our elections accurate and secure and believed by the voters. The narrowness of the presidential race has made that more difficult than any of us thought 2 months ago. For January 5th, we have sent OEB, official elections bulletins, to remind counties that all of the election processes are available for public viewing, including signature verification. And they always have been under state law. I say this again, knowing that it's been a public process. However, neither the Democrats nor my party, the Republicans, ever availed themselves of this legal viewing of our election processes that would involve the signature matching system. And now that the signature matching has been attacked again and again with no evidence, I feel we need to take steps to restore confidence in our elections. Starting immediately, we are pulling all of our resources together with GBI to conduct a signature match audit in Cobb County. Vote privacy is top of mind, and we will never release how someone voted. We are only reviewing the signatures on the envelope. We recently received a report that Cobb County may not have conducted a proper signature match in June, and we will look into that claim. We hope to release the findings of this audit 2 weeks from today. To that end, my office is working with an accredited university on a third-party signature match statewide audit study. Both Governor Kemp and Speaker Ralston have expressed their support for such an audit, and will need their support to bring the resources necessary to restore Georgians' faith in our elections. We stand ready to answer each and every question out there. Every Georgian needs to have faith in our elections, Republican, Democrat, Independent, and every other affiliation. From working with my staff and our investigators, I know we've had a secure election here in Georgia. I look forward to working with the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Speaker, and both houses of the General Assembly in the upcoming session to implement my proposals like moving away from signature match to a voter ID for absentee ballots like we stood up with the absentee ballot portal, a deadline for absentee request, and giving my office the power to remove consistently failing county election administrators and election boards. For January 5th, as I said, please vote. Your vote matters. We are working with counties to enhance transparency, especially through technology. Live stream your absentee ballot process, your verifications, and your tabulations. Protect voters' privacy as the Constitution requires, while giving all Georgians the ability to watch and gain faith in the process. Thank you, and please get out to vote. Thank you.
Good afternoon. All right, I'm going to go to pick up my pen first. Going to go over some of the basics we have for the January 5th election right now. As of this morning, we have 1,191,901 absentee ballot requests in, with an additional 13,806 still on the online dashboard, for a total of 1,205,707. The online requests we have are 429,874. Now, when you subtract out the rollover list that we had, total new requests are 583,000, a little over 583,600. So we're looking at about 77 to 78% of all requests have come through the online portal using the driver's license number as the unique identifier for those voters, which is a step in the direction that the Secretary wanted to outline before of using voter ID, driver's license, or state ID as the main identifier. So far, we are at 261,424 ballots have been accepted by the counties. So that gets us to about 22% of those that have already been requested. Absentee in person or early voting began this morning. So far, we don't have any reports of any mechanical issues or issues at the polling locations. We've heard of no real line issues, which is a little bit different than we saw at the election in November on the first day. So with that, I will take any questions. Hey Greg. No. This Cobb audit is just essentially we have a specific, as we have said repeatedly, we have a specific allegation that the process wasn't followed properly, so we're going to begin looking at the ballots, or the absentee ballot envelopes on that, just to compare to assure that happened, because there is no way to unwind it at this point. This is about investigating the allegation, and while at the same time enhancing people's fundamental belief in the overall system. Yeah, Mark. I think the intent is that it will likely, all is a very big lift. I think it will likely be a statistically significant sample to get to like a 95 to 98% confidence level that we're going to see. And I'm a liberal arts major, so I'm not smart enough to give you that math, but we can run into it through a confidence calculator with, mathematicians to say we got to look at X number of ballots to reach this level of confidence. It'll be both. It'll be both. Money always helps with these things, yes, and both the governor and the speaker have indicated that they would have the resources to do that, and since we're about $519 million over and above what we had brought into the coffers through this time in fiscal 2020, we think there's some money there to be had to help do this process, to help put faith back into give people faith in the election because of the sheer volume of disinformation, misinformation, and flat-out lies about the election so far. Well, as I just said to Mr. Nisi, it's going to be essentially probably a statistically significant sample of ballot envelopes reviewed against the eNet signature matches or whatever else these counties may have, because not every signature is on eNet, which is the voter registration system. Some use paper backups on those things, and they're allowed to do that, and some have a locally kept drive of signature matches as well. So, no, this is for Cobb County to start. There could be potentially another one at a later date, but that's not where we're at right now. Because we can't do that in 2 weeks. That's what we're trying to get this done before the election. Yeah, Mark.
So this one that you're doing now, is it your, I know your office has said that it wants a stronger way of verifying voter identities, but at the same time, it sounds like, well, you tell me, do you believe that voter signatures are
From everything I've seen so far, I believe that they have been, because one of the other things we would have seen if people had not been doing that, we would have had thousands of people showing up at the polls saying, I didn't vote in this election already, and that didn't happen. So we already have some back-end data to show that didn't happen. However, when you have what is essentially a subjective process, like signature match actually is, that leads to potential doubts that can be exploited by people who want to undermine people's faith in elections. I'm reminded of that scene in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, when Senator Smith was implicated in the Willett Creek scandal, and they had back and forth professional signature matching going, this is an obvious forgery, this is obviously a signature, and it went back and forth. And if you want to not believe it, that's the kind of ambiguity that can lead to that. So having a direct binary differential, which is like, this is my unique identifier. And if we can find a way to leverage technology in the long run, people can upload things, people can download things, they can bring in a specific thing. I don't know the best tool yet, but we want to find the best tools so people have the faith and that we take away the subjectivity, and that would be a good thing for everybody to have an increased faith in the system. Yes? Probably not, because the law states essentially regular business hours. There may be some who can choose to do that, but my best imagination is that they will probably not have it on that particular day. The same way they're not going to have it on Christmas. All right. Anything else? Yes. Right now, we have a specific allegation in Cobb of the process not being followed properly. So under our investigatory powers, that is where we're starting. That is not to say there couldn't be other counties or a statewide situation at a later date for post-certification review. I don't know. I just know it came in. Our investigators are looking at it. I couldn't say for certain. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. We have had no specific allegation other than people doing a generalized, we don't trust these people. And we, as I've said repeatedly, we can't, that is not how due process works. You can't say, I don't like to look at that guy. I'm going to go investigate him. You have to have some kind of evidence, unless we look at a way to, in an extraordinary situation, look across at broader things. But right now, Cobb County is the only one with a specific allegation where the process may not have been followed. And for all we know, the investigation can say it was followed. So that's the hopeful outcome that we're going to see, but we can't say that until we actually do the investigation. All right. Yeah, Mark. Okay, if we go back, and I'm going to do some of this from memory, in 2016, the signature missing rejection rate was 0.26. In 2018, it was 0.16. And as it stood, by the numbers we saw, it was 0.15 for 2020. That is said with a particular caveat, though, that with the passage of HB 316, a cure period was introduced for anybody who was missing a signature or their signature didn't match. So there was an ability for weeks at a time for people to come in, show their actual voter ID and says, yes, this is me, or they don't come in, and that vote does not count. So there was a higher rejection rate at the beginning until they notified people of the cure period to come in and actually do it. I know in Fulton County there was at least 1,200 that were cured, and they had copies of their voter IDs attached to the actual ballot envelopes as the cure. So that's how the system was intended to work, and considering we had a similar rejection rate in 18 and 20, even with the cure period, it shows you had a higher rejection rate on the front end. Now, one of the things that's being done, I think, to intentionally confuse voters and people in Georgia is they're saying this is a much lower rejection rate than is historic. That's if you take the entire rejection rate, which really comes down to the vast majority of those come in from ballots getting there after the 7 p.m. election day deadline. And so one of the other things that's been misconstrued, I don't want to say lied about necessarily, but misunderstood and misconstrued about the settlement agreement is that when we were entering that, the Democrats' parties had to release all of their other claims on signature match. If you remember, at that time, before the 11th Circuit had started giving us really good rulings, Alabama was under siege, South Carolina was under siege for their signature match. We were doing everything we could to A, defend signature match, and B, defend the 7 p.m. election day cutoff. And we did that. Pennsylvania did it. If you look what happened in Pennsylvania, they lost all those cases, so they had to accept ballots all the way through Friday without any postmark, because the judge said if it gets there by Friday, it is deemed to have been postmarked at that time. We were one of the few states that successfully defended every single lawsuit on that front to allow us to have that in place. Otherwise, we would have had thousands of extra ballots, and we would have had a hard time certifying any of the elections coming in. Yes, Emma? Yes. Some of them are under investigation right now. There's a specific one we've seen with a gentleman out of Florida. I'm sure many of y'all saw. He did attempt to register. He did go on video and say for people to do that. We've seen other attempts like that. We have seen third-party groups that are under investigation. And a large part of it, in their point of view is, I believe they're like, if we cast a wide net and accidentally get people to legally vote, the greater good is we got new people to vote as well. That's not a responsible way to do this because it undermines people's faith in the overall system. They have the ability to do better data management than they are doing, and they're choosing not to because they want to set a wide net to get as many people. And when you're sending it to dead people, when you're sending it to people who are out of state, and you look at their addresses and see that, you know what you're doing is potentially going to undermine people's faith in the system. But if your goal is to get as many people, regardless of their legality to vote, and remember, there was one particular person who I believe was in this building earlier today who literally said people should be able to vote who are documented and undocumented. So we have evidence of people saying that's a good thing to do, which we think it is not, because that dilutes the votes of legally registered Georgians. All right, thank you all very much. Thank you.